All right, we're live. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, one of us is anyway.
This is the Trampled Underfoot Podcast coming at you from two secure locations across the country. Not one, but two. And that's all the way over on the West Coast in Oregon. And then all the way down towards the East Coast in Florida. We cannot tell you the specific location because that's all guarded information. But we do a show every Tuesday, and we're here to thrill you, I think. So what's going on, Mark?
What are we going to throw them? A bone? Throw them a bone? Throw them conversational humor, intellectual honesty, and things to think about? Nah, yeah, that's too shallow.
So what's the story?
Man, we had a nice day today. Finally, I live in Oregon where you don't tan, you rust, and it's been doing nothing but rain. And we had a real nice day today, and I just didn't know what to do, so I stayed in the house.
So that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, I put out the promos for the podcast, our podcast that goes live on Spreaker every Tuesday morning. I do a little bit of promoting on my social media in various groups and what have you. And I got that done and then started working on a top secret project that's going to come to light a little bit later on, in the year. And then just kind of by the time I knew it, it was time to let you know I was here and ready to do the podcast. So basically I was an oxygen thief today. I didn't do much of nothing.
Well, I mean, that sounds, nothing is still something. So that's what I say. Doing nothing is just as valid as doing nothing in the grand scheme of things. Because you can never really be doing nothing.
No, there is, if you really want to get, dive into it and get philosophical, there is no such thing as nothing. There is always something,
Yes, there is no such thing. I will have to agree with that as far as I'm capable of thinking. There is absolutely no such thing, as nothing. I have to say that is the most reasonable conclusion that one could come to, even when you're obviously, when you're sleeping, there's still something going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
Even when you've bit the big one, your mind, well, we don't even know, right? But organically, everything is converted. There's nothing.
Yeah, there's no such thing as nothing. Even in a vacuum, there is vacuum. There is something.
Well, wait a second. Now, I don't know about that. Is vacuum something?
Vacuum is a state. It is something, yes.
Vacuum is a state?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Vacuum, pressure, and neutral.
Oh, you mean like the Hoover vacuum cleaner?
Well, if you vacuum everything out of a closed cylinder, it exists under a state of vacuum until you open that cylinder. Right. Until you open that cylinder and let atmosphere back in or air pressure back in.
But the lack of anything.
But the atoms that were within that vacuum are still there. So there's never really nothing.
But the in-between space in the vacuum of space.
Right. There's all kinds of stuff.
There is, but the vacuum part, the in-between part of that all kinds of stuff, there's nothing there. So in reality,
we don't know that there is nothing there because there are gases in space as well that you can't see.
No, but I'm saying that in between the gases, the little particles, the dust, the this, the that, between all that, the vacuum part, that vacuum part in itself
is something.
Well, it's vacuum. It's lacking something.
Yeah.
It's lacking everything, supposedly.
No, it, in and of itself, the vacuum is something.
Well, actually, is it? There's nothing in it. There's nothing. The vacuum, it's excluding oxygen. It's excluding cells. It's excluding.
It's excluding hedgehogs. It's excluding everything. but it's still something in and of itself. It's a vacuum.
Nothing from nothing.
That's how we have given it a name.
Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You got to have something.
That's right. It works for Billy Preston, but it's not science.
Are you trying to tell me that Billy Preston did not research scientifically what he wrote about in his famous 1970, I don't know what song, Nothing from Nothing Leaves Nothing?
He may very well have, but it's called poetic license. Who cares? I bet you none of the Beatles ever saw Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds either. Of course, then again, they did have their period there. They might have.
Well, I will say that then after we've had this little, this little conversational back and forth, I will have to retract my confident thing about saying there's never nothing, because you created in me, even though you overcame that object, you created in me the pondering of, in that vacuum, minus all the little particles, in that just the vacuum part of it that we're aware of, there's really nothing, because is vacuum something you can there's nothing there. So maybe that's a good little thing to I'm gonna have to jury it out.
We assume there's nothing there because we can't see it, we can't smell it, we can't taste it. We can't even experience it, because if we attempt to, we'll die, because it's the vacuum of space. But just because we can't perceive it doesn't mean it isn't there. I mean, nobody has ever laid eyes on an atom, but can you doubt that they're there? I mean, you can doubt all you'd like, but science would prove you wrong.
No, we don't know.
So,
but we haven't observed.
Right.
Right.
So, exactly. I mean, there are millions of different species of animal I've never seen before, but just because I have not perceived it doesn't mean they don't exist, is my whole point. So,
well, we could see it in a book and this and that, but
sure.
The idea of the nothing part, I'm gonna have to sort of say that the jury is still out on that one.
Okay. Well, hey, if I have inspired you to do some more due diligence and do some more research and everything else, my work here is done.
Well, no, I can tell you this much though, that no matter how much I ponder it, barring some spectacular new finding in a scientific journal, which are readily available, by the way, online, all the topics you can possibly think of, and cross-referenced across the world from different people, pros, cons. If we find it in one of those, I might be like, whoa, eureka, we've discovered. But barring that, I don't know that I will be able to answer that one.
See, I love stuff like this. I like to split hairs over diction and think about stuff like this. For instance, does light have weight? Does light have any kind of mass to it? Can you create a scale that is sensitive enough to where if you put it in a dark room, take a measurement on it, then shine a light on it, see, does that measurement change?
What's the answer to that?
I don't know. It's just one of those rhetorical questions. Does light have any weight to it? Let
me see what they say.
But then again, weight is different from mass, in that mass is the object. Weight is the effect of gravity on that mass.
Let me read what the internet, our trusted, helpful guide through the galaxy.
You go into Wikipedia to see what I wrote?
No, on physics, Van Physics, Illinois, .education.
Okay.
So it says, light does have weight, meaning that it is a source of gravitational fields. A box of light weighs more than an empty box. The reason is that all forms of energy have weight. However, under ordinary earthly conditions, the weight of light is insignificant compared to other weights.
Yes. That I would agree with, because, but it's just one of those things. Does light have weight? 99% of people would go, I don't know. And was one of them. Now I know.
Well, we just learned something. I learned something right now, because I in fact, I never even pondered that.
Yeah, it's just this is the kind of stuff I think about when I'm home alone and the cable goes out. You know.
Here's one. Here's one for you. Here's one for you, and for you guys out there. My question, a little on the lines of what Mark, just asked about, the whole light thing and weight. Do all M&Ms, including the red, browns, yellows, and greens, and so on, taste the same?
Has anybody? I don't know. Now, there's a good philosophical question to ponder. Do you eat M&Ms one at a time, and do you separate the colors in the fun size bag?
Well, I just asked you one, and now you're killing me with a
no,
yes.
Because that's the only way you would be able to tell. Because you would have to separate them all out. So that's where my brain went. You said, do they taste differently? I don't know. I personally, I don't know. I can't tell.
I don't want to judge things by appearance, but I usually go for the red M&M. Like, they seem to be special, and so I get those red M&Ms first, and the yellow ones too, for some reason. And I think there's a color association with the vision and food. That one, but in real life, what's red that we would, I guess, cherries and strawberries,
raspberries, things of that nature. Yeah.
So I usually, the red ones are like, or the yellow ones, I'm like, yeah. So I prefer the reds and the yellows.
You just brought up another excellent, and I gotta look up.
What do you guys and Skittles? Somebody said. Yeah, they're all powerful. The Skittles are so freaking sweet, dude. It's so savage.
Okay, you just brought up an instrument. You just brought up an interesting concept to me, anyway, because I'm that word nerd.
Yeah.
You brought up what foods are red, because red is one of those warning colors. It's warning you to stay away from it. Nature is warning you, this is bad. Stay away from it.
Okay.
Red, yellow, and black are warning colors.
Okay.
Like you look at a hornet or a wasp, they're yellow and black. That combination is a warning.
Okay.
There are poisonous frogs and poisonous snakes out there that are red, yellow, and black. There's a frog out there that's red and black, and that warning is sending to predators, you eat me, we both die. I'm poisonous.
Yeah.
That is called aposematism.
Okay.
And to me, that as a word nerd, it is a warning coloration. It's the most animals, evolutionarily speaking, tend to try to blend in with their background to avoid predators. If you take a regular badger, they tend to blend in with the background. They're various shades of browns and grays to kind of blend in with the dirt and their habitat. Okay. So they're harder to spot. But you take a honey badger, which is a vicious predator in and of itself. It's reverse colored. It's black and white, kind of like a skunk. That's a warning. That's aposematism. That's a warning. I want you to see me because you need to be afraid of me because you need to stay away from me. And it's the same thing with wasps and hornets, the bright yellow and black, look at coral snakes and things like that. So it's kind of interesting to me that there are perfectly edible foods that are a bright red, like you say, cherries, raspberries, things like that.
Let me inject something to that. And I'm sure you might have seen this scene, and you guys out there, but I think you'll find it pretty hilarious, particularly if you watch it. The series called Norsemen, they're like what you call the Viking people. And they're up there doing their Viking things back in the Viking age. And there's one scene that I found so freaking funny. I like the what's the word when something is ironic? I like irony. In certain situations, I like irony because there's a joke in there, right? When something's ironic, there's always like a joke in it.
Usually, yeah.
Well, in the sense that I'm taking it, but yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a joke in it. But
usually, yeah.
But usually, so there's a scene where they're out in the woods. To speak of the fruits and whatnot, they're out in the woods, and you probably remember this. And the chieftain is there with his wife, and they're standing around, and there's like this dead Viking on the floor, like and another one, and then there's just one guy standing in between them and looking at the and holding like fruits. And he says, "Go on, eat go ahead, eat. Let's see if these are if these are poisonous." And the last two had died from other berries. They're trying to figure out which fruits are good. And this guy is sitting there. He's looking at the two dead ones in front of him, and he's like, "Go ahead, go ahead. Are you sure? Yep, go ahead." And he eats it, and you can see his face like waiting, his eyes bulging left and right. And you have to see that series. I found it so funny. How did the first people, whatever that means, however that seemed to be, decided, oh, that frickin' strawberry over there, I don't know if it's going to kill me or not, but we've got to eat it. Did they do something like that? Bring the village idiot in? What did they do?
They would have had to, or they would have had to have seen that other animals were eating it.
Yeah.
Other creatures were eating these must be okay. But then, one of my favorite lines is, "It's good to be the king." The leader of the tribe will pick the most useless individual and say, "Here, try that." But yeah, I don't know. You're talking about the red and yellow M&Ms and Smarties and Skittles and things like that. Brought me to that aposematism. But it just kind of flew in the face of nature. When you're a kid, you don't think of that. The bright yellow, the bright red, the bright green, the bright blue, they attract you. You would think that would be something in us to make us stop,
There's little seed berries on certain trees that are toxic to humans, but birds can eat. There's things that are cross. So the animal, we have the knowledge now, kind of, sort of, and even yet, at this day and age, people still eat stuff that freaking makes them croak. But back in the day, when like they were in the first orchard, and they looked at like whatever fruit or whatever. I mean, you had to really. And by the way, there was a thing called "I'm hungry," and that's always had to be around. So the concept of the first dude with his lady walking through the orchard, and there's all these sorts of fruits and stuff and this and that. I mean, what the heck? They had to have said, "Honey, let's go for it." There had to be a point when that was the case. Yeah. And what did they eat prior to that?
I don't know. I mean, anything that couldn't crawl out of its way. I mean, the sum of our knowledge is based on experience. So somebody ate the wrong thing, and that's how they discovered that's poisonous. I mean, we weren't born knowing that black widow spiders were poisonous. Somebody had to get bit to discover that fact. We weren't born knowing that rattlesnakes were poisonous. Somebody had to get bit to discover that fact.
Right.
And so that's where our knowledge comes from, is our experience.
Right. No, I'm with you. I'm just thinking how far back do we have to go? How far back do we have to go so that there's a dude sitting on a rock in some sort of remote, who knows where this place is, and there's like, he's sitting on a rock, and there's like this berry, and he's looking at it. He's hungry in his belly, and he's like, "Man, you know what? I don't know why I'm tempted, but it could also kill me." Just that concept is mind-blowing to me, because at some point there had to be that first instance.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. And there are also some foods where you got to wonder who was the first one to try one. Like, who was the first guy to try an oyster? There is nothing appealing about an oyster. Now we associate it with food. But think about what an oyster looks like. You open up the shell and you take a look at that yuck of a mess that's in there. Who first decided that would be something to eat? Somebody who was hungry. Exactly. Yeah. Somebody who was hungry and figured they had nothing to lose and decided, you know what, this is actually pretty good.
But wait a second. Then again, on that same note, Mark, how about, and I know this is common to us, but you're standing yet again in that orchard, and there's this freaking cow standing there looking at you as sweet as can be with his cow little head. And you're like, you know, buddy, I've never done this before, but I'm going to go ahead and carve your ass up, and I'm going to eat your ass because I just right now, I'm hungry.
Well, we got that from watching other animals.
You're right.
We got that from watching other animals, and the domestic cow that we know today didn't exist back then. That is something we have basically created.
All right, some sort of buffalo thing.
But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It was like, deer and...
No, wait a second. You're saying that cows did not?
There were cows, but they were not like the ones we have now. This is after years of domestication.
Oh, by the way, as far as cows, so the first people in Europe did not process milk.
Mm-hmm.
Milk processing, what would you call it? Milk
lactose intolerance, yeah.
They didn't have, and they know that. Mm-hmm. The first wave of people could not, and then all of a sudden another wave came, and then a third wave, and then they were able to, and people started to slowly be able to drink milk. And lo and behold, now, and there's still people, but originally, apparently, with what they see is that they weren't consuming the milk of cows at those early stages in the past. Right. And then all of a sudden, a cross-pollination of peoples, and they started drinking milk all of a sudden. Right. But I'm sure...
Well, it's a crossing of cultures and evolution itself.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, there's... when you think about it, if you step back, take the nutritional value and everything else, just step back away from it and think about it. There is absolutely nothing natural about us drinking the milk from another animal that's created for their offspring. There's nothing natural about that.
I don't know, man. I don't natural.
We here's the weird one. There was a few years back. Here's an example of this. A few years back, I don't remember which company it was, but there was an ice cream company in the UK that made ice cream out of human breast milk.
Oh, jeez, Mark.
Now, see your reaction right there. There was two different reactions they got. Those who went, oh, okay. And those who reacted exactly like you just did right here, right now. And my question is, why? It's clearly made for human consumption. You can't get any more made for human consumption than that. I get it. I do understand. There's who the hell did that come from? Oh, hell no.
Whereas cows are livestock.
It's this far away from cannibalism. I get you. I understand that. But we gross ourselves out thinking this is human, but we're perfectly fine to take it from another animal.
Because it's livestock.
Yeah. I know, but it's that disconnect there. It doesn't seem logical to me because clearly there is nothing more made for human consumption than breast milk. That's it. But the milk from the cow isn't. But we have no problem with it. I just think as a logical exercise, it's just kind of one of those fun things.
Yeah, well, we're not eating so if it's human milk, in cheese products, oh gosh. In that case, it's like, what person did this come from? It's a human, just that. Like it is that slight this much away from cannibalism.
But just on your support on your side, they did have to clearly label it to warn you in case you had a philosophical problem with it.
But who wouldn't?
Or just the blah, I'd try it. Why the heck not?
No, I would not try that.
Why not?
If I were lost in a jungle,
you wouldn't have it available to you, so it wouldn't be a factor.
And I came across a tribe, I'd be trying to stay alive.
Okay. Well, if it came down to that, I see your point. But yeah.
I'd be
I just didn't see the incongruity there. It's just something that it just struck me as odd as a logical exercise that we would have a problem with human breast milk, but not a problem with cow's milk for ice cream. I just thought that was funny. That's all.
Well, I can see what you're saying, and it makes sense. We've overcome that, and we know the reason. It's just a little bit on the gross side, considering humans and stuff. And like, could you perpetually survive? See, this is I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to do this.
No, you don't hate to do this. You love to do this.
Let's say there's two people that plane crashed on an island. There's nothing there to eat. Now, this is horrible. Nothing there to eat. You both you're hungry, but you both, and there's no fish. Okay, let's say that there's like no fish at all.
So you're on the only island in the world surrounded by water where there's no fish.
You know what? About a month ago, a friend of ours called Snow Crusher, aka Greg, mentioned that somewhere in, or maybe it was you that mentioned it. Somewhere in Canada, there's an island and an island and an island in a lake, in an island in a lake in an island. Well, let's say you're lost there, and that body of water around you is dead zone. There's fish further away, but you can't reach it. Okay, so let's just make this. There's no fish. There's two of you. Well, could they survive if they surgically cut off just little strips of bacon from the surface skin of, like, let's say an arm or someplace, let it heal, and then feed each other? Like, so they're cross feeding, and little by little, just enough to survive until rescue comes. They stay alive because they're against killing each other. You're not going to sit and have a full meal. Hey, Herbert, I'm going to have a full meal of you. Sorry, buddy. Can you survive off of little morsels back and forth? Would that be enough to sustain?
More to the point, would you want to? At what point do you just say, you know what, screw it, we're gone?
And then you one day you're like so starving, and you just like go to one corner and you just move the brush. There's like a Dunkin' Donuts there with people in a parking lot.
Of course. No, I don't know. There's a certain amount of caloric intake you have to have within a certain amount of time for your body to function, or your body processes just start shutting down. You're also assuming that there's fresh water.
There's fresh water.
And generally speaking, where there's fresh water, there is life. So you would probably find something. Even if it's
not in my scenario. Okay, in my scenario, what I'm trying to tell.
Well, this is
what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you is, would you eat that little enough to survive back and forth? And would that be? No, I'm not even asking you. Would you eat? I'm asking you, would it allow them to survive?
Probably not, because I don't think you could get enough calories to support your life without doing damage off of the minuscule amounts that you're talking about.
You have,
I don't think you'd get enough calories.
You have stitch equipment, by the way, the plane.
But you also have to heal, and the healing process takes energy, which burns calories. So every time you inflict a wound, you're burning more energy. You know, that's why they say don't drink salt water, because what your body has to do to get rid of that, to process it, burns more water, burns more liquid than you're actually taking in. It will just flat out dehydrate you.
There's no, and Rick French just said you can live off of plants. Okay, I don't think that you guys are appreciating what I'm trying. I'm going to eliminate. There's no plants on the darn. There's a rock. There's a rock that curves over, so you have shade. That's all you get.
Eloy, basically, when he drops you on these desert islands to get your desert island situation, he puts you on one solid chunk of basalt with no cracks in it, surrounded by the world's coldest ring of lava that you can't get through, you know. And there's nothing alive anywhere. Even birds get within a half mile and go, yeah, no, not for me, sorry. Gone.
But wait a second. So let's just say that. Let's just say that. Normal conditions. Normal conditions. You're lost on an island with normal island conditions. Not you, but just in general people. Survival rate without any outside help, just with the stuff that normal islands have.
Well, there comes a point where even the pickiest of eaters will make concessions. So as long as there is life there, well, I won't say that. I won't say as long as there's life, there's food. What I will say, as long as there is life, there is the potential for food. Because if you can't eat it, you can use it for bait to catch something else. Usually, not always.
Okay, so you're saying that man dropped off on, and I'm not talking about
Well,
just a regular island. Let's say
it's happened. It's happened, and there are plenty of cases of it. I mean, we did an entire episode talking about Alexander Selkirk, the inspiration for Robinson Crusoe. Him and William Dampier. Now, Dampier was not shipwrecked himself, nor was he marooned, but he's the one who picked up Selkirk, who was marooned for 2 years. So, or no, was it 4 years? I can't remember now, and I don't have my notes with me here.
So you're saying that in those conditions, we could, I don't know, my dog is just like scratching at the, and I shouldn't even say this on the thing, but it's like, it has to be that he's going to interrupt me. Yeah, and it's enough to annoy me so that I have to pull the door open. Go ahead, Beagle. Go. Get your little ass.
That's his job. Because you failed to remember that he is the dog. And the dog rules. That's it.
It's funny, but like, let's say I'm doing something and he's sitting in the little doggy bed next to me, and I'll get up. And he'll get up and follow me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter where I go. Mm-hmm. It does not matter if I go outside for a moment, he's going out there. Mm-hmm. Then I go back in. If I go to the kitchen, obviously he goes. If I go to the bathroom, mm-hmm. he'll get up and stand by the door.
Mm-hmm. That's protection.
Yeah, he's making sure that nothing happens to me. Because if something happens to me, he's even looking at me. Come here. Yeah, I think dude, I don't know if it's me. I think he understands.
Well, he understands somewhat. He understands you're alpha dog, and he has to protect you. And he knows that when you're in the bathroom, you're vulnerable. And so he's got to keep you protected.
And if he stays too close to the bathroom, he's going to be vulnerable.
Right. That may be a giant purple snorkel whacker come out of your closet and try to get you. Well, he's there to defend you against that. It's a protection thing. And also, you're forgetting that dogs are just narcissistic enough to believe that it doesn't matter what you're doing. It has to directly involve them because they are the dog.
Yeah.
You ever try to lay down on the floor and read a newspaper when you have a dog? You can't do it.
No.
It's just not going to happen. You lay out a newspaper and lay down, and the dog will be right there in the newspaper at your level going, hi, what's up? You know?
It's an amazing relationship, dogs and humans, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's great. I love it.
I'm not so much with like the cats. I like cats too. I've had cats, but there's a detachment there.
Yeah, there is.
There's almost like an arrogant detachment.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't need you, but I'm sticking around, but I really don't need you.
Well, you think about it. You have a dog. The cat has you.
Yeah.
You know? The dog will defend you. The cat's gone. He's the first one out the room. Cat really has to be special for me to like it. I mean, cats are cats. Okay, they're fine. Great. Terrific. But I'm a dog kind of guy. I'm that guy that if you go to a party, and we all got a friend that way. If you go to a party, you'll see that one guy over in the corner playing with the dog. I'm that guy. I like dogs better than I like most people. Yeah.
It's just, there's an honesty there with dogs. What you see is what you get.
Dogs are just cool. That's all.
It's written in their paws. It's just they express what they feel, and there's something endearing about that.
Well, not only that, they know they're fully dependent on you. They know they don't have the opposable thumb. I mean, they're just fascinated over the fact that you can turn a doorknob. But they also know that you're the person that feeds them. So there's loyalty there as well. It's like, dude, I can't work the can opener. That's why the dog's excited when you come home from the store. He knows he's going to get fed again.
I'm going to tell you something, dude. So he's usually in a good mood, but if I'm ever too serious and I'm serious and I have to go out, right, and to the store or whatever, if he doesn't perceive my mood as a good one, when I get back, he will, on occasion, leave a little present so that I can see it, like saying, screw you, buddy, like right there. And then he'll look as I'm cleaning it up from a distance.
Yeah.
And he's probably thinking, That's what you get for treating me that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had a dog when I was growing up. We had a dog that she was Cocker Spaniel and Poodle. Yeah, it was a mixture, I'll tell you what. But if we went out to dinner and forgot to feed her first, we would come home and the garbage can would be emptied onto the floor and just spread all over the kitchen with her laying there in the middle of it on her back with her tail wagging. Don't kill me! You didn't feed me. I didn't know if I was ever going to eat again.
Because they don't know.
Yeah. But if we fed her first, we'd get home and everything would be fine. She'd be over in the corner asleep. But if we didn't feed her, trash everywhere.
They're dependent on because everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. How we got on this side? Oh, I do know. You had to open the door to let Vigo out. That's how we got on that.
Yeah. It's always something.
I'm telling you. Well, that's how we flow. How we even got on aposematism or the any of the colors of the Skittles or any of that other is still a mystery too. But you know what? It comes in, it goes out, it's gone. It's no big deal.
I even forgot we had that discussion just a couple of moments ago. I'm on to the next thing, man.
You were too busy, Sim City building your island. That's what you need to do. You need to get into Sims, the video game, and build that island. And then make little figures of one of me, one of Greg, one of all of our one of Steve, and then when you play the game, you can drop them on that island and see how they get along.
The reason I pose those questions, although I'm being silly many times,
yeah,
but it's an attempt in some cases to sort of gauge people's options and decision making, just to get a glimpse at how people would solve a problem. And it helps me inform myself too, like, oh, now is that correct for me? Do I think that? And it's here's a serious one and that I haven't fleshed out, and I don't know if I'll just say it.
Okay.
So it's a little bit, so we are who we are. So let's say you're out and about and you see a family member trip and fall.
Okay.
Do you help them? Do you let them do it on their own? Just in a generalized way.
It really depends on the family member. Certain family members, I'll be right there to try to help them up because I know they have either had injuries before or maybe they're, older and might need help. The younger?
No.
Probably, well, I look, are you all right? If it looks like they need help, I'll help. But if they don't need my help, like they're lying there cackling, no, I'm not going to help them up. Get up. Let's go.
Okay. So the point is that you'll help because you see them in need. If you see them in need.
Yeah. If I see they're in genuine need, you bet I'll help.
So here's another question. If you see a stranger out and about in the street and they fall, do you help them get up?
It's more or less the same thing. It to me.
Let's say they need help.
If they need help, yeah, I'll help.
Yeah. In all these scenarios, they're going to need help. Like they fell.
Sure.
So stranger, yes. So and a person. So you help people. Now you don't know anything about the stranger.
No, I don't.
If another scenario, if a person that you know that you don't like falls, do you help them up?
It might take me a couple of seconds more, but yes, I would. Yeah, somebody in need is somebody in need. I mean, I'm not one of those people that takes delight in the pain of others. I may not like you, but that doesn't mean I want you to suffer.
Okay, so that's a decent thing, and that's a decent way to approach things. I mean, it's the honest. I think it's the more appropriate way. So if it's someone you don't like, it might take a little bit longer, begrudgingly, but you're going to help.
Yeah, because I don't want to walk up while I'm laughing.
Right. So we have those three scenarios. So now, what if you have a family member that falls when you're out and about, and a stranger that falls at the same time, roughly thereabouts? Who do you help first?
Whoever's closest. I mean, it's, you can't take you can't make choices like that. You have to, whoever. I'm going to be looking at what the heck they just tripped over, so I don't trip over it myself.
So they both fall, and you have access to both. They're at relatively the same, so there's no.
So I'm probably going to help the family member first because I know that person. Then I'll turn around. Are you okay? Do you need help? Whatever, and help them up.
Okay, right. Yeah, I think that's about right.
I mean, now the instinct is to protect your own first. I mean, a mother or father is going to protect their kids first. Yeah. You would think the adults would be able to take care of themselves, but the kids are going to need extra help. So that's that protection gene kicks in,
Let me give you the last one then, which is, I mean, we've already run the course of the experiment, the question. But here's the last one. So it's not like outside. So you have the stranger on the street falls, and on the other side, same distance, the whole thing's just the person that has been not a nice person to you, a nasty person at the same time. Who do you help first?
Probably the stranger, because I'm too busy laughing, and then turn around and help the guy I don't like.
Right.
So I don't take pleasure in pain of others, but then again, you tend to protect innocence before you protect guilt. And I think that's something that's built into most everybody. Not everybody, of course, you can't generalize like that. But I think it's kind of like if you see a 5-year-old fall down and a 15-year-old fall down, your tendency is to help the 5-year-old first. Because it's assumed that the 15-year-old is going to be more likely to be able to take care of themselves.
Right.
But
and if you have
but then again, if a 20-something falls over and a 90-something falls over, your tendency is to go help the 90-something first.
Yeah. So I have to agree with all your decisions. I think that that it's right, but that's my personal, and for the same reason that you're just saying. Exactly. However, it would be interesting to see who would not help their own first. Let me just get this out. It would be interesting to see, using these examples, who would not help their own first and go help someone that they don't know first, or even worst in my esteem, help someone that they dislike first, or that has done them wrong, better said, first. Then you're at the extreme closest to you, your family member. And the reason the reason for this thing is just to gauge what priorities are and stuff, and I align with that priority. Well, and I think most people do too.
I mean, but you and I both know people. We could probably name names. You and I both know people who would look at the guy they don't like and say, "Well, hope you learned a lesson there," and just walk away. So,
right. Well, see, there's another one.
And then there's another class that would give him a couple of kicks while he was down,
and you know what? And there you have it.
Yeah.
And there you have. Now, I'll just say, so that was that, there's a lot in there without having to go any other direction, but there. I was in LA, and I was just walking the town, and I was on my own. It was during the day, and I was on a corner, and I had been going up and down and stuff, and it's just a different environment. And the light changed, and so every pedestrian was walking crossed. And I took one step to cross, and I don't know what, I was in my 20s. I don't know what it was, but my foot, my knee buckled, my foot gave way. It was the most unreasonable thing, but my foot just said no. And I went crashing down, palms first, on the, like I had been dropped like a sack of potatoes off of a frickin' freight train onto the ground, bap, in the middle of LA, busy frickin' cars, and all the people waiting for the light standing there. at the same time, all of them were like, "Oh, well, are you okay? Hey, is everything? Hey," and I'm hearing all this hovering over me while I'm still face first on the ground trying to figure out what the heck did somebody just knock my. I didn't know what the heck happened to my foot.
Mhm.
I stepped down, and for some reason the distance was, and I totally ate it onto the floor. But everybody's reaction was, "Oh my goodness, this and that." And I remember being a 20-something-year-old and thinking, man, is this what it's like being old? I mean, I was thinking back then.
Well, actually, it's kind of strange that, because this is what I was going to bring up. It's actually kind of strange that there was a group of people that came out to you because, and I don't remember what this is called, but there is a name for it. I should look it up, but I'm not going to. I'll save you that pain. The bigger the crowd of people watching something like that, the less inclined individuals are to try to step forward and help.
Say that again. Say it again.
The bigger the crowd, let's say there's 5 people and they see somebody fall down. Chances are somebody's going to help out. But if it increases to 10 or 15 or 20, you're going to get to a point where nobody will step forward to help.
Yeah.
And the reasons are many, just depending upon who you talk to from that crowd. But the bigger the crowd, it seems the less likely someone is going to break away from that crowd to try to help.
I gotta share something with you. And by the way, that's an interesting thing, and I can see, I could imagine why that would be, and that being one of the. I gotta mention, when I was younger, at least throughout my 20s and into my 30s, and even before when I was in my teens, but throughout those, but not so much now in the 40s. And I gotta be honest with you. I remember that I'd be on the street driving somewhere. And this is just me to share this with you guys, and you tell me what you guys think. And there would be situations like a guy would be, stalled out on the street, and I'd be driving on the opposite side, and I'd make a U-E, park my car, walk towards where he's at, and help push his car to the garage. Just multiple situations like that. There's plenty of cars, but I would see someone, because I would think to myself, man, if I'm in that situation, there's cars zipping by, this guy's just... So I would help.
Yeah.
And there were many instances and different scenarios. But I had that scenario maybe last year where someone was stuck and I'm driving and I'm thinking, man, I really am not going to push that car. Sorry, buddy. And I keep going. But the thought, I could do it, but I'm going to spend myself. And so it's now a decision where, do I really? I don't think so. I'll give, what do you call it? Some, I forget the name of the darn thing. I'll give them a charge, right? A boost.
A jump start?
A jump start. But, because that just requires, but this whole pushing and pulling business, man, I'm sorry. At this point, it's like, no, not gonna do it.
Now, I got to ask you if this factors in at all, because you bring up an interesting point. Because when I was younger, I was more inclined to help. I mean, I pulled over on the freeway, see a car pulled off to the side of the road with the hood up and the 4-way flashers going. I would pull over to see if they needed any help. But this was also before cell phones.
Very interesting.
And so I'm seeing a lot fewer people pull over to offer help or assistance, because everybody naturally assumes that everybody has a phone and there's somebody you can call.
Very interesting.
So I'm wondering if that plays into your thinking as well. If you see somebody stalled out or something like that, and it's just a case of, I really don't feel like pushing, I'm not up to pushing a car today. Or is it, they got a phone, they can take care of themselves?
No, that thought didn't cross my mind at that moment, but I can totally see that if they have a cell phone, they must call. See, that's perfect. Who do you think they will call? Will they call the stranger? Will they call the person they hate and that hates them? Will they call a stranger, like the Lifeline on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Or will they call a friend or family member?
It just depends on who, depends on what's going on.
Well, I can guarantee you they're not going to call a stranger unless the stranger is attached to the towing company. But you get what I'm saying, though.
I do get what you're saying. It'll probably be husband, wife, dad, or mom.
Yeah,
one of those four first.
Yeah.
So,
it's just it is what it is.
People are people, man. They just I think more often than not, folks are basically friendly. And if they see somebody who genuinely needs help, they will offer assistance.
Yeah.
Some people just don't care. They're caught up in their own little world. They might be afraid. I mean, I lived out in the Nevada desert. It was common. I won't say it happened all the time, but it was not uncommon to see somebody, a quarter mile or a mile or 2 miles away from a car. You see a car on the side of the road, and you see somebody 2 miles away walking down the side of the highway with a gas can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would stop and give them a ride to the gas station.
Holding an axe and covered in blood?
Well, that's a little bit different subject. If they were decent people, if they were nice, I would take them back to the car.
But how do you not know? So you're doing the same thing, and there's a guy with a gas tank. He's walking back to his truck that's painted in black with a skull on the side of it. And he's walking back, and he just happens to have blood covered, drenched all over with an axe.
And he can get his own ride.
Why? Because the stimuli, the information.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to have seen any movies to know you don't pick up somebody wearing a hockey mask carrying a chainsaw. That just is not going to end well.
Well, it doesn't seem. But if it were up to you with that attitude, there'd be no horror movies. You just ruined every horror. So how are we going to get the people, the victims, and the movie to go for an hour and a half without them doing stupid things?
Well, what are they doing walking down the highway in the Nevada desert? They should be out at a camp where there's a bunch of teenagers getting stoned where they belong. Right. What are you doing out here in the middle of the desert, Jason? You should be over at Camp Wannago,
It's funny as heck.
Now, that's going to throw me into a different direction here. Movie years ago. I don't remember what year it came out. Early 80s, may have been 1980. The Twilight Zone movie. Did you ever see it?
I never saw it.
You got to see it. You got to see it.
Well,
now, this is the second movie that I've recommended to you, but this one is good because there is a scene like that with Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd.
So it's a good movie.
Very good scene. It's a good movie. You remember the old Twilight Zone TV series?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
But I never saw the movie.
They took certain segments from the Twilight Zone series, kind of spun them around a little bit, remade them, gave them because the original Twilight Zone was 50s and 60s, gave them a 1980s update, and set them in a quote unquote more modern time.
Okay.
But it was pretty good. And there are, I don't know if it's aged well, but there were a lot of very good scenes in it, and something that you and I just described with the person walking down, in the desert, was a part of that. It's actually a very good scene.
Okay, how about this? A little girl in like an 1800s walking down the desert, down the road, with one of those 1800s dresses, holding a bear with the eyes gouged out, and she's got like a little dagger, and she's really pale. And there's like dark circles around the eyes. She's just walking. Do you help that innocent little girl?
See, you call her innocent. I call her a target of opportunity.
How's that?
That's the ones I run over. So if you're a little girl who happens to be dressed up in 1800s attire, leave the teddy bear with his eyes gouged out home.
See, because they make it so that and it's just hilarious. Oh, I do want to say I did watch The Princess Bride.
You did. Yeah. I have been after Eloy. This is a revelation, folks. You heard it here first. I have been after Eloy to watch The Princess Bride for probably a year now.
Yeah.
And you finally watched it. So what do you think? I
watched it last night.
What do you think?
I thought it was a very nice, innocent, free of. So it was a beautiful story something that would even fall within the Disney World sphere. Oh wait, actually, it does, because it's in the Disney World.
Yeah, but it was not a Disney movie. We need to
Okay.
make that distinction. It was not a Disney movie. It was directed by Rob Reiner, and I don't remember what, but it was not a Disney movie.
It was written and performed in such a way where it's a refreshing, not taxing on, you know what I'm saying, on the emotions, and yet adventurous. It reminds me of swashbuckling movies where it's fun and it's not overburdensome and stuff. So I did enjoy it. I didn't expect it to be like that at all.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now, what was your favorite scenes?
Well,
because I threw two at you, and I said I think you're probably going to think these are probably two of your favorite scenes.
Well, boy. So this is gonna sound so. I liked the idea. See, this is bad. I like the idea that the story opening where he's the peasant guy and she's the part that the little kid didn't like. He says, "Are they gonna start kissing now?" I liked the sentiment behind him saying, "What is it? Your wish,
as you wish,
as you wish, milady," or whatever. I liked her discovering in the story that what he was really saying is that he loved her. I thought that was a great little thing to start and make the story, that much. And yet the story goes on, and then there's, some comedy, but it's subtle. So I liked that. And then I liked the pursuit and every little stop along the way. The fencing I enjoyed a lot with the flips and whatnot.
I knew that you would like that scene.
Yeah, I liked the fencing. I also liked at the end the part where the Spaniard guy is getting poked with the swords. He's like this and that, and he keeps saying, and he says, my father is something Montoya, and I have come to kill you, something to that effect. What did he say exactly?
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father.
And he's battling him, and then the other guy, the bad guy, says, "Stop saying that." and he says it even louder, and he keeps going, but it's the killing is like poke with the thing, and he's like, so it's enjoyable. It's super enjoyable.
It was a good movie. It was a good flick. There were rumors about 5-6 years ago, somebody was thinking about remaking it, and the population of the internet at large basically screamed, "Don't you dare touch that movie." You can remake the Flintstones. You can remake, Ghostbusters, but don't you dare touch this movie. It's a cult classic. I mean, I don't know what it did at the box office, but I have only met one person in my life that didn't like that movie after they watched it. And that, oddly enough, was my mother. She just kept waiting for it to get going. She's like, "Okay, I'm watching all this stuff. It's just, when's it going to get good?" I'm like, "Mom, are you kidding me?"
It's a fairy tale. It's like a fairy tale, No, I get it. It's not like it's a classic kind of vibe to it, So it's not like explosion after explosion.
Nope. But it's an excellent flick. And if you have never seen The Princess Bride, I'm giving you the recommendation now. If you have never seen The Princess Bride, watch it tonight. Do it tonight.
Well, so
excellent flick.
So now can I give you my recommendation, and hopefully you'll force yourself to maybe watch it and give it a chance.
All right, we'll see. What is it?
See, you're being. See, I said yes.
We'll see. It depends on what it is. We'll see.
Zombie Monkeys Part 9, The Return of Django.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
See, because you're judging the title of the movie, you don't know that the content of Spider Zombies.
See, that's what I mean. You haven't even made the film yet. It's still in your brain. That's why I'll never see it.
No, because I'm trying to find the most ridiculous combination of words that sounds so unpalatable
Uh-huh.
the person, so that the person is forced to either
Okay.
be kind and say, okay, fine, or be truthful and say, screw that.
Okay. Now you're talking about titles. This kind of dovetails. I told you I had one subject to talk about, but I'll talk about that another day. We can save it for later. But this does kind of fit in with it. Talking about movie titles, what is the cringiest movie title you have ever heard? Not the movie itself, just the title. And went, are you kidding me? I'll never go see that. What's the cringiest movie title you've ever heard?
Barber Shop.
Really?
Oh, it's lame. It sounds lame. Although I'm sure the movie has some redeeming qualities. Every movie does, but just an idea of a whole movie being shot in a barber shop could be cool. But it just could be cool. I'm saying that with a lot of enthusiasm that is not well placed. But it's like barbershop. No explosions, or at least no zombies rushing through the windows. No plot of death and destruction. So I think barbershop is kind of a lame-ish thing. There's so many, dude. I hate to say this, any chick flick with me and J-Lo in the summer camp of '89, or rendezvous with love dust in the air. Anything like that is a sure way to get me not to watch that movie.
I think the cringiest title that I can think of off the top of my head is Mars Needs Women. It was a 50s science fiction flick, and that seriously was the name of the movie, Mars Needs Women.
Dude, I mean, it's like, it doesn't encapsulate everything that you don't want to see without it saying anything else.
Yeah, because it was just two drunk guys going, screw it, that's a good title.
That's insane. Just for the sake of this topic, what was his name? Something Romero, the guy that
George Romero, Night of the Living Dead. Yeah,
George Romero filmed that first Night of the Living Dead, and if you've never seen it before, it's in black and white back in the '60s. Mm-hmm. With little money, he created a nice terroristic, frightening movie with very little, financial backing. Mm-hmm. And it was actually what's missing from it, with what we see now with zombies, where you can see everything was implied in your mind as you're watching the movie, and the radio playing with what's happening outside, kind of like War of the Worlds. There's a lot in there. And it was just very simple, but it's actually frightening. Yeah. In a good way, it's compelling. So you don't necessarily need to, have all the big bucks. I mean, nowadays it's more difficult. You need some financial backing, but you can make a good movie with less.
Yes, and he proved that point, and he lucked out. The audiences who did see it loved it, and word of mouth got it shown in a theater or two, and that's what made it for him. But you're absolutely right. It was a cult favorite not long after it came out. Within about 2 years, it started really getting popular. I saw it. We used to have a TV show down in the San Francisco Bay Area called Creature Features, and they would play horror movies. Either Friday or Saturday night, I don't remember which, that came on after the news. And there was a host, and he'd introduce the movie, and when they broke to commercial, he'd come back and he talked about this film during the show, and it was an excellent, excellent flick, made for, as you say, pennies, basically, back then. I mean, they cut costs wherever they could. I don't think they spent $100,000 on the thing. And he made a good fortune off of it because it was that good. So, I mean,
let me make my recommendation to you. And if you watch it, great. Maybe one day you'll say, hey, you know what? I went and watched it, and I think this about it. So out of all the movies that I've And by the way, I never. I might have to go. We might have to go investigate this if it was a fact. I never truly recommended. What was it?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. I only mentioned it in the context of, and I did say that it was stupid and this and that, but the theme, the idea. But you have always said no. You did recommend it, and I did watch it. Which you did watch it, and it was the most horrible thing because it's not. I didn't mean it in the context of that.
It wasn't the most horrible thing, but it was in the top 10.
Yeah, it's not
10, whichever you.
I just want the only concept I was trying to transmit to you was a guy from today.
Yeah, I get
appearing in the future and then seeing that everybody's like dumbed down and he's like the smartest guy. Like that concept I thought was. Anyways, I'd like to recommend to you to watch. I love it. What's up with the grin? Like saying, "Yeah, you wish." Buddy.
I'm waiting.
I'd like you to watch Truman Show.
Okay.
That movie.
I was waiting to see if that was going to be with the one you recommended. That's why the grin was on my face, was to see if that was the one. Was it the one
that you thought that I was going to recommend?
Yes. I was waiting to see if it was going to be the Truman Show or if it was going to be something else.
So I recommend that one. Okay. And again, it's totally obviously in your court. The concepts, that part's a sure.
Yeah.
But I think that you will appreciate. Obviously, you have to forget about, people's real life, ways of, but just the movie itself and the concept and the things that occur. I don't know. I think that you will enjoy it.
All right. Okay.
Have you seen any clips of it?
I don't think so. I think so. I haven't even watched any trailers or anything like that.
Okay, so don't just watch the movie and if you want to. So that's it. That's my bit.
Okay. All right. We better stick a fork in it and see if it's done.
All right. Gobble gobble. It's ready. All right, folks. So listen, we want to thank you for hanging out, and this is Mark, Lindsay, Eloy Escagedo from Trampled Underfoot Podcast. We go live every Tuesday at 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 East Coast time. You can catch us on YouTube, Trampled Underfoot Podcast on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page under the same name, and we usually link or publish pictures and movie links and videos and so on of the topics that we talk about when we find them, something interesting that we'd like to share over there as well. So go check us out on Facebook. And we also have our website page, and that's Trampled Underfoot Podcast on .com. Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com, and you can catch our past episodes on pressing the Wayback Machine button. You'll catch all those. They're titled. They have art to them. Let us know what you think. And we also are
sponsored by Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media, your one-stop website shop. If you need a website, a web store, you want to make merch, you want to design merch, Steve's your man. He can hook you up. Very, very affordable prices, personalized service. You can find more information at harnealmedia.com. He is the sponsor of the Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com webpage and web host to the stars.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Hey, listen, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Catch you next time. Good enough. Clean break. All right. I have so much to say. Let me go back here. Billy Burt has a cringy movie title for you. Blubberella. Was that a real movie? Come on, Billy. There was a Barbarella. If that wasn't a real movie, it should be. Okay, let's see. Jamie Page, JP Woodwork. How do you doing, Jamie? Guess I'm going to have to watch it now. I think we were still talking about The Princess Bride then. I think so. I think so too. Yeah. I can't believe he hasn't seen it. And it's such a British movie. It really is an excellent movie. Billy says, yes, Blubberella really is a real movie. Okay. Wow. That's crazy. Maybe 2011. Okay. I'm going to take your word for it, Billy. It's not something that I'm going to go, searching for. Hey, whoa, stop that. Man, Did you see that? Wasn't that weird?
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, Rick French brought up a good point here, and I didn't want to say it during the audio podcast. The Twilight Zone movie was the one where the actor Vic Morrow, there was a scene they were filming where he had a kid under each arm and was running through some water to try to get to, there were helicopters all around. And a pyrotechnic went off too close to one of the helicopters. And it lost its tail rotor and basically crashed, and the blades went right through him and those two kids, killed him and both kids while they were filming it. They totally eliminated the build up to that scene and what was supposed to go on after that scene. And that one segment of the film doesn't really make any sense because that whole part was taken out. So it kind of jumps around a lot.
That's insanity, dude.
Yeah.
What a mess up, dude.
There were lawsuits. There were all kinds of things that happened over that.
And no amount of money from a life. Just
no. And 3 of them lost right there. But
it's just unbelievable, dude.
It was not a good situation.
I mean, just as horrible as when Brandon Lee did. I think it was the Crow movie. I think it was, or one of the movies, and they shot him with a gun, and there was an actual real bullet, and killed him.
I don't know. I don't think it was the Crow.
It could have been.
But
one of those movies, The Crow 2?
So I
think it was The Crow.
I don't remember. I really don't remember.
I'll tell you right now. Movie set where Brandon Lee got shot. The Crow.
It was The Crow. Okay.
Around midnight on the morning of March 31st, the cast and crew were filming a scene at Carlico Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina. As Lee entered a room, another actor shot him from a distance of 15 to 20 feet.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So there was a bullet lodged in the barrel.
Yeah. And that was what came out and killed him.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Unbelievable.
Let's see. I'm cruising backwards here.
Unfreaking believable.
Billy Burt saying, good. You're kidding, right, Mark? I was talking about oysters at that time. Yes, Billy, especially smoked oysters. So let's see. I'm cruising all the way back to the beginning here and getting going on. Greg wants to know, and I never got back to him. Greg wants to know if you're awake this evening.
It depends. That's a difficult one to answer.
Okay. Let's see. A lot of people quoting nothing from nothing leaves nothing. Al, hey, Kilroy's Odessa Woodworking and Maker Shop. A vacuum is a space absolutely devoid of matter, at least according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Okay, but then you go on to say solar sails work by capturing the energy from light particles as they bounce off a reflective surface, according to the Department of the Energy. So even in a vacuum where there's nothing supposed to be there, there are those light particles. There are enough to drive a solar sail.
Yeah, but it's the light particles.
Right.
It's not the vacuum. See, if you consider vacuum as its own, so if you consider vacuum, do you know what I'm getting at though?
Okay, but my point being is we were using the vacuum of space as a reference on this. Even if there are no gases, you were talking about the voids. There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
There are still light particles.
Right, but light particles are not the vacuum. You understand what I'm saying?
True, I do understand what you're saying on that.
Like there's something external occurring. I'm saying the vacuum part. So there's light filtering through. I mean, we're. I don't want to say we're splitting hairs on what it is. I can see what you're saying, that there's always something going on. I'm just saying that if you take it intrinsically, just vacuum intrinsically, we still don't even know because we can't. or I think we don't know, but it seems or appears to be that would be an example of just nothing. Then again, I don't know if that's a factor.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't know if Jamie's still here. He said, why do they test products on animals and then decide to give them to humans even after they found out they were poisonous to said species? For example, chocolate. Chocolate is poisonous to every species. It's just the level of poison is so low that a fatal dose of chocolate to the average human being is 25 pounds. Your body will not let you eat 25 pounds of chocolate at one sitting. You will start vomiting it up. So it's the level of the toxicity that you have to deal with. Caffeine is toxic. You can have so much caffeine that you die, or in such a high concentration. But we don't get anywhere near that toxicity level, and it works out of our system before it becomes a problem. Certain things like Brazil nuts and bananas, the potassium isotope within that food is radioactive. But it's so small of an amount that it's safe to eat and considered just fine. It won't hurt you at all. That's what they say. Although, and this would be an interesting concept to talk about on the podcast, I think one day, the concept of a micromort. A micromort is your one chance in a million of dying. So if you eat 1,000 bananas, you have increased your likelihood of dying by 1 micromort.
1,000?
1,000 bananas.
Is there anybody on Earth?
But staying in New York for 2 weeks, living in New York for 2 weeks, increases your likelihood of dying by 1 micromort.
Yeah,
it's just there's all kinds of things. So, we already have as a base living in the United States, we already have like 55 micromorts. So we have like 55 chances out of 1,000,000 of dying right now.
So how about that caveman running through the savannah being chased by a dinosaur ostrich with plumes that stretch out for 15 feet? I'm sure their micromort levels were really high.
Actually, they were very low because man and dinosaurs didn't coexist.
That's what they say. That's what they say. I mean, that sure is a way to screwing up my whole scenario.
Jim,
go ahead.
Jim Dockrell says maybe oxygen is poisonous, but just works very slowly. Well, actually, I don't know if you'd call it poisonous, but it is corrosive. We do oxidize. When you think about it, we regenerate new cells. Billy would probably know this. We regenerate so many billion cells per day. It's just that those cells are old, nasty cells. We don't have that perpetual youth gene. So,
yeah.
And Rick, when I said New York, I meant New York City. I didn't mean New York, the state. I know there's a lot of great places in New York. So, but yeah, it may be poisonous to us. Try living on pure oxygen. You can't, I don't think.
I mean, there's no other gas that, is going to suit us other than that one. So,
yeah.
The idea is that we're slowly edging on the precipice of eternity.
Yeah. It's always a crapshoot. You can take all the precautions in a world and be absolutely eat the healthiest you can and be as safe as you can and get hit by a meteorite. So, when your number's up, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just,
Why is it that a lot of your sayings are things that are falling from the sky?
Because that's my luck too. I mean, I will head out to the shop wearing my safety glasses as I walk out the door, wearing my hearing protection as I walk out the door, open the door to the shop and something will blow up at me. I mean, I just know that's my luck. I would get hit, a forgotten piece of Skylab that's still floating around up there would hit the shop. That's my luck.
Whoa. You just, dude, you got to watch my recommendation, dude. Because you just quoted, or you just inadvertently, unless you got to see the movie, dude. And I'm not trying to, but it's just, I mean, because number one, I want to see your reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Where
the space junk came from is I don't have an obsession with it, but whenever I'm outside after dark, I can't help it. No matter where I am, if there's low light pollution, if it's not real bright out around me, I will just look up and watch for things. I'll watch for satellites and I'll watch for, you can see things tumbling up there. You can see certain satellites turn and catch the sun just right. And, as it's over the horizon and flash, there's a lot of weird stuff if you watch the night sky. And if you're in an area where there's not a lot of light, you can see all that stuff.
But whatever we're looking at, have you ever, when you look at Google Earth and you zoom out, like let's say you're in your hometown and you zoom out, like in my example, I'm here in Miami, but I zoom out, like I can see my actual area and I could zoom out to where I can see the blocks, but I can keep zooming out where you no longer see that and you're just seeing the actual shape of the state.
Yeah.
Surrounded by water. And if you keep going, then the Google Earth becomes a ball. At which point you can see Florida, but it's like a little thing. Well, whatever's out there at that distance, in other words, if I'm in space looking at Florida from that distance, obviously you can't see me nor my neighbors. No, right. All you can see is the actual landmass. So whatever that I would be able to see would have to be just as big as Florida for me to perceive it from that distance. So if you reverse that from you here on Earth looking up in the sky, whatever's out there, although it's blanketed in a sea of nothingness, of darkness, which does help, but something has to be some significant size or closer for us to be able to perceive it. So what I'm trying to get at is that what's out there that we with our naked eye can't even see that's actually right there?
There's a lot out there with the naked eye that you can't see. Like for instance, when I spot satellites, it's before, obviously it's after the sun's gone down, but it's before about 10 or 11 o'clock at night because the sun is over the horizon. But these satellites that are 250, 300 miles up above the surface of the Earth, there's still enough sun to reflect off of them. So I'm not actually seeing the object. I'm just seeing the reflection of light from the sun.
Yeah.
So like you can go to NASA's website. It's called, I want to say, spotthestation.nasa.gov. And you can enter your zip code, your postal code, and it'll tell you where from your area where you'll be able to see the International Space Station come by. And I mean, there was for about 4 years, I was tracking that sucker and had it on my laptop on the whole thing. And there's another website that shows its current position of where and I don't remember the name of it, but we would get about 5-6 minutes outside of when it's supposed to be visible to us. And I'd go out on the front deck and I'd wait for it. And pretty soon you'd see it come straight ahead. And with that other website up, I mean, we could see it coming in. It was still over the Pacific and then come across past us north of Portland, Oregon in Washington somewhere, but I'm still seeing it. And
with
then
the naked eye?
With the naked eye. And I would
big?
Just watch it. Oh, it would be, imagine the diameter of a round toothpick, maybe a little bit bigger. but you could see the sun reflecting off of it. And by the time it disappeared, when it got away from the sun's reflection, I could look down at it and see that it was up in Canada, over somewhere in Manitoba, or depending upon the trajectory, it would disappear somewhere over Colorado.
Okay.
So it would be above that point, but you could still see it in the sky.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating to me to watch. And so you can pick out certain things, certain objects that are moving. There are millions of species of animal and insect that has better night vision than humans. But human eyesight is very good at picking out movement. So if you see an all black background like that, and yeah, there's stars up there and you can make out constellations, your eye will be attracted to movement. And you can see just a very small pinprick of light moving where everything else is stationary. That's a satellite, and occasionally you'll see them. You can't see them tumble, but the light will pulse, and that it's either spinning or tumbling or rotating or something like that.
That's when they're inside
It's
going,
different reflections, It's actually very, very cool. It's actually one of those things that we do.
So Snow Crusher says that there's nothing in Manitoba. Well, there is that board game called the Manitoba.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
Board game, something
Yeah.
to the.
Yeah.
I say it's really fun, but
Greg also asked, have you ever seen the Aurora Borealis this winter? No, I have not this winter. The only time I've ever seen the Aurora Borealis, we saw it, believe it or not, in Nevada. There was a huge solar flare, and it made the news, the local news in Reno, Nevada. We could see it. I was working for a company. I serviced slot machines, driving a route going from bars to convenience stores or whatever, servicing the slot machines in those locations. And we were radio dispatched, and it was 9 or 10 o'clock at night, something like that. And all of a sudden the hills up to the north of us looked like they were bright red. They just looked like suddenly there was this glow, and it started getting brighter and brighter and brighter, but it was shimmering in the sky. And at first I thought it was a fire on the mountains, back behind the mountains. But then it was like, no, that's not a fire. That's coming from up above the mountains. What's going on here? And it was mainly red and orange. And I ran over to my parents' house and, told, hey, Dad, come check this out. And we got out and looked, and, it was very, very cool. I'd never seen it before, and I haven't seen him since.
Going up to the spirit in the sky.
Well,
going up.
That was something.
That's a good song, by the way.
Yep. Norman Greenbaum. So
he was that was like a one hit for him, yeah.
Yeah.
But some people that one hit, that's something we haven't touched on, right?
That's something we haven't touched on, but what you and I need to do, and because it would be funny to compare notes on this. Sorry, Steve, music show. It would be to our top 5 one-hit wonders.
That's a good one. I think that we could
do something with that, couldn't we? What do y'all think? Of course, now what it's going to do is it's going to test our ability to pick out one-hit wonders, or
have the similar ones,
or find out that they weren't a one-hit wonder, they did another one.
How about this though? How about this to make it interesting for everybody? How about our list, top 5 picks of our one-hit wonders in the polka genre?
Yeah, well, you win because I don't know any polka music.
Research. We
Nah. No, this is our opinion, man. At least, hey, I'd be glad I didn't go into Celtic rock.
I mean, well, that has to be interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
I like to think about things like that, one-hit wonders or deep cuts. Stuff that was on an album but wasn't put out there was, oh man, the best song on that album is not the one that was on the radio. It was this tune. I love deep cuts like that.
Okay, so I have it on good authority that there might be special food on its way for one of the hosts,
Yes.
and it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say that how about this? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to. How about this suggestion from Linda Lindsay? She says, "How about the top 5 one hit wonder bagpipe tracks?"
She could do better than me, but I can hold my own. I can, I know of quite a few of the pipers that she knows, but then again, it's subjective. It's our opinion. So she might disagree with some of my choices, but
how about the top?
My opinion.
How about the top 5? We each pick our top 5 Gregorian chant one hit wonders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much out there.
There is so much out there, but I mean, what we have to do is we have to establish what a hit is, and agree on a hit.
Gold record, platinum record, so on.
Well, how about charts? They're ranking in the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that
because
you can have something that's had a lot of sales but never was a hit. It never ranked in the chart, so you wouldn't classify it as a
That's
hit.
a tough one, though. If it has a lot of sales, and that's true nowadays, as opposed to back in the day when it was just radio that we got our, So I don't know that. I think that both that all goes into the same. I think that either by charts or by sales or platinum or this, I think that it's all going to round off.
Because you have cases where, for instance, Fleetwood Mac's Dreams, it's been on the charts twice. So many decades apart, all because of that TikTok video. But Fleetwood Mac Dreams and the Rumors album charted again because of that TikTok video. So you had album sales, but we're talking about the song, the one hit song. So the album over 50 years may have sold a lot of copies, but none of the songs or their singles may not have made it into even the top 40, let alone the top 10.
Okay.
So
we'll flesh it out.
Mm-hmm.
But this is we'd
have to agree on that, but that'll be for a future episode.
Yeah. So. And we'll we know some people will be waiting for that one.
Yeah.
What?
I was going to say, we know one person that would promptly take a nap, but that's cool.
All right. So look.
All right. Yeah, we better pull the plug. I got to go eat.
We're out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for hanging with us. Appreciate it.
Laters.
And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.